I love starting new things. I love starting new companies. Why? Because it's mine. It is my baby. I get to run it. I get to start it. I get to push it forward. And when you give more people that opportunity to feel like they have a piece of their community, that they actually have a say in how their life goes, they're just not going with whatever they're forced to, at that point, you have a world that people can actually enjoy and love and live in. Health insurance for an employee is $12,000 a year. That kills small businesses. They can't survive. You want a small business tax cut? You do Medicare for all.
Thank you. Wait, will you repeat that one more time?
If you want a small business tax cut, you do Medicare for all. If you want a middle-class tax cut, you pass universal child care. If you want small businesses to grow and be started, you pass those two things, and guess what? People can take a risk. People now have the money to start their own company. People are no longer stuck in a dead-end job that they hate simply because they have insurance. And what it does is it frees up the market. It frees up your community to actually have a piece. Because right now we don't have an American dream. We have whatever products are on the market that we're able to skate by and convince people to
This political advertisement paid for by the Alachua County Democratic Party.
Hello, this is Cynthia Chestnut from the Alachua County Democratic Party. This election year, many of us have concerns about voting due to the coronavirus. The safest and most accessible way to have your voice heard is to vote by mail. It's easy. Call 374-5252 or go to votealachua.com. Let's vote in numbers like we have never seen before. Vote by mail.
All right, I think we're live. It looks like we're having a little bit of video issue, but we're gonna power through it. How are you doing? I have
doing well, thank you, Adam.
I have Cynthia, the head of the Democratic Party here in Alachua, and so we want to basically just talk and see how everything is going, with the pandemic, and really just kind of catch up a little bit and see what kind of forums, as well as what the organization is doing, as well as what we all can do to help, especially going into the next election. So I really appreciate her being on here with me. So, what do we want to talk about? I guess that's the real question.
Well, campaigning is certainly different now this season with the pandemic. We've scheduled a number of virtual forums due to the pandemic. So our first one was last week with the property appraisers, and so far we've had about 758 views on that one. And tomorrow night we're going to have the Congressional District 3 candidates. I think you're familiar with that one.
Yeah, a little bit. I think so.
And House District 20 candidates. It's an opportunity for people to hear the two candidates in that race. On the 23rd, we'll have the state attorney. She's unopposed by a Democrat, but there's a Republican running in the seat. And we're just going to do a spotlight with her and introduce her to vote. Yeah. The big one, I think, is June 30th, the sheriff candidates.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Before we jump into that, how about you introduce yourself to anyone who doesn't know who you are? I know a lot of people do know who you are, but kind of give a little bit of your background, who you are, a couple interesting things about you. I know you're extremely interesting to begin with, but let's see what you think is most interesting about yourself. I think that'll be most fun.
Well, let me see. I'm Cynthia Chestnut. I have been in politics I was in politics for a number of years as an elected official. I had the pleasure of serving in the Florida House for 10 years, and then first I served on the Gainesville section, then as mayor commissioner, 10 years in the legislature, and finally as a county commissioner. I have chaired the Democratic Party for the last 5 years, and my term will end with the election of the new president, Joe Biden. And with that, we will be electing new leadership in December.
Okay.
So I'm retired, and I was supposed to be retired, but the chairing the Democratic Party is a full-time,
Yeah.
well-paid job at $0.
So
it's
what
unpaid,
you're
and I love-
telling me is that you're not getting rich off this, is what you're telling me.
No. It's truly public service and a job that is done from the depths of my heart, because I love the Democratic Party. I want to see Democratic candidates elected and governing. So,
Well, I'll tell you what. That's a great follow-up question right there. Is what made you fall in love with the Democratic Party to begin with, and really want to, dedicate your life to this kind of thing? Because I mean, for me, obviously, my story is a little bit probably different than yours, and probably got into it for a completely different reasons. Because I grew up solid Republican in one of the most conservative counties in Indiana, in the country, and that was my entire family. I mean, my extended family are farmers in Iowa, deep red, and actually, and so for me, I grew up as a person of faith. I grew up in the church basically from the time I was born, or as quickly as my parents could get me out of the hospital to there. And I grew up really focused on the fact that the church has one focus, or at least it's supposed to, and it's the people that we are supposed to take care of are the hungry, the sick, the needy, the hurting, anyone who wants help or needs help, or really just needs someone to be there for them. That is who we should be serving, or at least that's what I was grown up to believe. And for me, especially in the last 4 to 8 years, what I realized was that the politics that I had grown up with, they didn't match what I had been taught and what I had learned, and really the moral clarity that I was supposed to have. And I realized that the people that had taught me that moral clarity were not actually taking it to heart, because I always believed that, you can tell me anything you want, but if your actions don't back it up, then why am I supposed to believe you? And so for me, seeing really the two different sides of it, and seeing and really feeling like, who are we supposed to love? Who are we supposed to be taking care of? Who are we supposed to spend our time helping or working for? And for me, it was the people that, especially like my parents, that, they had a little bit, they didn't have a lot, but at the same time, they worked hard. And they believed that, if you're blessed, then you should be able, and you should be giving back to the people around you and anyone else. And so for me, that was really when the switch happened, was around 2014, 2016, and just watching my family and the people that I knew not make that change. And I felt like, for me, I had to. And so I would really love to, hear, for you, where was the moment that switch happened? Or even just when was the moment with the Democratic Party that you felt hit you the hardest?
That moment was really all of my life. I grew up during the civil rights movement.
Okay.
I graduated from high school in 1966. The Voting Rights Act was passed in 1965. And so I've lived through seeing the voting rights giving us certain rights, and following the Constitution, and then to see that slowly being stripped away by Congress and by Republicans.
Yeah.
But for me, the Democratic Party is the party that represents a fairness. It represents equality.
Yeah.
And in the Democratic Party, you have an opportunity to just about be anything, go anywhere you want to. Mm-hmm. I think that it has afforded me, and particularly Alachua County. Alachua County is a very giving county, and a very open-minded county, because such a mixture of educational levels here, that it just afforded me many opportunities to serve. And you spoke about faith. Mm-hmm. Dr. King and all of the civil rights leaders, that's where we all learned how to how to get involved in voter registration was really through the church because it was voter education.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, especially, I feel like, especially in the Democratic Party, faith has just been interwoven into it since really the beginning, and especially through the civil rights era, because the biggest giants even today were ones that started off as ministers or as pastors. I mean, you have the Poor People's Campaign right now with a few people that are happening in the Democratic Party. Obviously, you had Dr. King. Obviously, you had many others. And so for me, just that kind of message of, you know, everyone wants to work hard. We all work hard, but the question is, are we able to survive and have a decent life when we do work hard? And I feel like for a lot of people that just hasn't been possible for a while. And I think that that's one thing that our campaign is really trying to highlight is, for some people, no matter how hard you work, you're still not able to get by. I mean, some of the hardest working people that I know are the ones working minimum wage jobs. And so for me,
well, you know, in Florida, we haven't been able to move the needle. We've had Republicans in leadership for the last 30 years.
Yeah.
And that has had a true impact. Look at what it's doing now to unemployment.
Yeah.
And people trying to collect unemployment. Florida has one of the lowest weekly unemployment checks in the nation.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, you especially not only that, but kind of on top of it, just when you look around, especially not only our county, but just outside of Gainesville, I mean, income inequality is huge. Being able to afford a place to live is extremely difficult. Just being able to really get by, and I feel like for a lot of people that really isn't a Democrat or Republican issue. It's who is going to actually help me. And I feel like, and I guess for me, my question, one question that I would have for you is, what is your vision of the Democratic Party going forward? What are the ideals really that I think we need to ground ourselves in? And do you feel like the Democratic Party has shifted at all from, obviously, as you've grown up and been in it for a while, have you seen it shift from different place or different priority to priority, or do you think it's been pretty steady?
I think it's, how would I say it? I think that it has moved with the times. And you have to have a party that does that because that helps you to stay current. What I would like to see Joe Biden do in January is do a national back to work program. We need an FDR type program to put people back to work because the stimulus check didn't do it. The virus has just impacted people so greatly, and people need to work. And the way we need to do that is that it's going to have to be a national program, whether it's for infrastructure or what have you. But FDR did that, and I think that's what we need to. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And that's what I want the party to address.
So I think that that's a huge thing, you know, that especially our campaign has been highlighting is the fact that, you know, a federal jobs guarantee would be huge. Something like the Tennessee Valley Authority here in North Central Florida, building infrastructure, making sure that we can, you know, retrofit our buildings as well as our grids so that we actually can, you know, survive the next couple hurricanes and as, you know, climate change erodes the coast and things. I think that that is something, and especially here, and especially in our district, really, I think we haven't hit hard enough, and we really have to go back to, because I have never heard anybody complain about the fact that somebody got a job through the government or said that they didn't work hard enough. It's always about whether or not they can survive and whether or not they can find work. And for me, I think right now, something like a Green New Deal, as you said, FDR-style program, where we're able to really do exactly that, is be able to put people to work, but not just put them to work, make it so that they can survive, they're making enough money, they're able to, you know, be able to build a life for themselves. Because right now, with the way things have been going and the way that we've allowed, I feel, a lot of giant corporations to come in and essentially kill small businesses and kill small towns, especially here, I think that it's almost impossible for a lot of that to happen right now. And we need something drastic, because COVID-19, it just exasperated a lot of the issues we already had. I mean, we had a lot of issues before the pandemic, and now it's a lot worse, because before the pandemic, it was, 40% of people only had $400 in their bank account to survive?
Mm-hmm. Well, it certainly brought the income disparities to light.
Yeah.
And I am just amazed that our U.S. Senator, Rick Scott, would not, does not see paying $600 a supplement in unemployment. He sees that as a disincentive to work. Now, $600 and $275 a week from the state of Florida, he's called that a disincentive to work. It's a disincentive to starve. So,
well, I mean, you look. I don't really want to get into Rick Scott, because the reason we have issues with unemployment is because of him to begin with, and the fact that he absolutely screwed up everything to begin with. So expecting him to do anything that's just probably not going to happen, in my opinion. But, for me, when we look at this and we look at somebody like Rick Scott, they seem to be more concerned with people who have very little getting just a little bit more than what they think they should, but they don't seem concerned with people in hedge funds or gamblers and speculators on Wall Street basically ripping us off for millions and millions of dollars in these bailouts and in these private loans, and they don't seem concerned about that. And for me, it's hypocritical that you would get upset with somebody who has so little for just getting a little bit extra, when you have people that are literally committing fraud and stealing from the American people, and you're happy to hand them money.
Yeah. So, well, you asked what else we were doing in the Democratic Party. We're very, very busy with vote by mail.
Yeah.
Because we know that voter suppression will go on. Not here in this county. We have a very forward-thinking and a very committed supervisor of elections. But across the country, we have to be prepared for voter suppression.
Mm-hmm. So, especially here in this county, have you been watching, or is there been a large? I mean, we've been trying to push vote by mail for sure, and we've been trying to highlight the fact that we need to, especially with the pandemic. I believe that everyone, when they turn the age of 18, should be automatically registered. That shouldn't even be a thing. I believe that anyone should be able to vote by mail if they want to. And honestly, vote by mail is probably the best thing that we could do. If you look at other countries, they have much higher rates of voting than we do, simply because they allow vote by mail for anyone and everyone. With the felony disenfranchisement getting knocked down, what do you think that the impact is going to be, especially in this area, in our congressional race, in our House races going forward, and what efforts are being made to make sure that, we can get people their right to vote back?
Well, for the returning citizens, we're making efforts to reach out to them through the faith-based community, through harvest areas where where you're giving out food, but we're trying to find as many ways as possible to get people registered, which is difficult during a pandemic.
A little bit.
So I think using social media, trying to get that information out to people. But I'm very pleased with the focus that the Florida Democratic Party is taking. Last week alone, they made 1 million calls trying to get people to register to vote by mail, and doing follow-up. So that's 142,000 calls a day.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, no.
That's a lot. And they have put people on the ground. We have field workers here that are working to get people to sign up for vote by mail. Yeah. More importantly, they are concentrating now, and that's the Democratic Party, is concentrating on down ballot races.
Yeah.
So they've created a department that will look at working in the communities with people who are running for Congress, people who are running for the legislature, the school board, the county commission, so that we have a bench at every level.
Yeah. You just mentioned something really big that, especially now that we are trying to do. So I know that you know about this, and a lot of people are starting to find out about this, but the previously to this year, and obviously this year is incredibly important because we have to flip the House as quickly as possible because of redistricting. But there were a couple groups that we even partnered with to try to find people basically to fill House seats in every single House seat here in Florida so that we are able to go on the attack and essentially do everything possible to not only put up a fight, but actually play on an equal playing field with Republicans here in Florida. And so last that I had heard, we were able to successfully get a candidate for every Senate district and House district. Now for us, in our congressional race, there are five House districts, and thankfully we were able to fill all of them, and also talk to them about coalition building, because let's be honest, the better that they do, the better our congressional race does, and the better our congressional race does, the better we do in November in order to actually flip.
Right. Well, yes, I am especially proud of that. This is the first time, and because I don't know when, that every seat in the Florida House and every seat in the Florida Senate is challenged.
Yeah.
So people are going to be very busy raising money for their own races and trying to get reelected, because they cannot take their election
For
or their
granted.
reelection.
They actually have to fight for it. They have to
They have
campaign.
to fight for this because they're going to have to fight
They
for
have
the
to
seat.
spend money in places they've never spent money in 50 years. And last I heard, it was ticking off some people. And my thought to that was, good. About time.
And they might have to speak to issues. They might have to address some issues. Fancy that.
It's amazing. So I think it's absolutely wonderful. And, we're going to do everything we possibly can to help out with phone banking or canvassing or whatever we can do to make sure that we can turn out the vote in Clay and Putnam and Bradford and Marion and all of these other places that you really...
Dixie, Levy, yeah.
It hasn't been turned out. And North Central Florida, to me, and this is one big reason I even jumped into this race to begin with, is I looked not only at previous races with obviously Yvonne and what she was able to accomplish 2 years ago, but I looked at the changing things such as obviously Amendment 4. I looked at a couple things like the fact that, so many people are so sick of what is going on now with the president that I'm going to assume that's a 1 to 2 point swing in this district, at least with independents. On top of that, you've got the fact that we don't have an incumbent anymore, which is fantastic. And then the people that are vying to replace him just happen to be as bad or worse as he is. And they're all trying to take each other out because there's 11 of them and they're all raising money. And I don't know if you saw any of this week, but there was some severe fighting between campaigns and it was absolutely wonderful to watch.
No.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, I'm going to have to send you some stuff because you will love it.
Please do.
But yeah, it is looking very good compared to where it ever has previously. And I think for us, obviously, in the House races, if we're able to build the infrastructure like we've never had going into November, I think North Central Florida might surprise a lot of people. And if it does surprise a lot of people, this may become one of the pivotal places in all of Florida to flip. And I think that just being able to do that and build that and be able to coordinate as well as we possibly can, I think that that's going to be huge. And so I guess one question I would have for you is, in what ways, can our campaign, our volunteer base, everybody with us, be able to help you and be able to help kind of that goal going forward? Because we want to turn out the vote as big as possible. Obviously, we got a campaign to run, but we are focused on making sure that we are making a change not just for us. We're looking bigger than just us. The campaign slogan thing, but we honestly, for me, I wouldn't be doing that if it was just to win one race for me. That doesn't matter to me. It's about actually being able to win. And to me, that's got to be bigger than one campaign.
I think you can certainly help with the virtual phone banking, but in a broader sense, we are looking for young people or people to help us as poll workers. Because the more that the supervisor can fill the poll worker positions, the more of the precincts that can stay open. A lot of the poll workers are like myself, senior citizens, and they, due to the pandemic, they don't want to come out and be in a polling place all day. But if we're able to get young people who can help us, that would be tremendous. And I think helping with the vote by mail and virtual phone banking would be great.
That's definitely something we do. I know that we're having a phone banking session right now as we're on this, and I think we've called about 4,000 people tonight or something. I don't know. I'm seeing the numbers. Yeah, no, we got 38 people now that are still under the age of 26, and they are killing it. And we should be after New York.
Congratulations.
Thank you. After New York ends and also Kentucky ends, we know that we have a lot of people that have been working and phone banking with a lot of progressive campaigns up there that are going to be looking for a new place. And so we are making every effort to be able to get them to start calling down here because, like I've been pitching the same thing to everyone. It's this matters, and like this race is big, and it can happen, and you just actually have to believe that it can happen. So I think that that's one thing for us that we've just been really focused on going into August, obviously, but going forward, because this is the two people that we're going to be possibly running against, Judson and Kat. We cannot afford it for this area. It's just financially, economically.
We are too progressive. We're too progressive, and we need someone who's committed to public education, jobs, equal rights.
Yeah. I mean, that doesn't sound very progressive to me, to be honest. That sounds
like, natural, doesn't it?
It sounds like the normal human thing to do, kind of. Oh boy, yeah, it's rough. Oh, the gator bait thing.
Oh.
The fact that Judson decided to put out signs that said gator bait with Judson Sapp underneath, and by the way, he's an FSU graduate. Don't even get me started on that. So, oof, that was fun.
Oh dear. Well, all I can say is bless his heart.
I went to school in the South. I know what that means. Oh goodness. Well, I'll tell you what. Do you have a couple other things we can talk about? Otherwise, we can start wrapping this up. But it really.
No, it's been fun. It's been fun talking with you.
It's been a pleasure.
Wish you well as you on this journey.
Yeah.
It's great to see people, young people running for office, helping to build a bench of candidates.
We're trying, doing our best.
Very good. And the party stands ready to help you in any way that we can.
Absolutely.
We don't endorse at this point, but we can provide support to you.
Absolutely. We have the forum, I believe, tomorrow night. We have the forum, I believe, tomorrow night.
Yes, the forum tomorrow night with the Congressional District 3, and so that's you and Tom Wells and Phil Dodd.
Yep.
And then the House candidates, Yvonne Hayes Henson, and Rodney Long. And so I think it's going to be good for the public to be able to hear where you all stand on issues. What do you think about?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I 100% agree.
But so it's going to be a great opportunity, and it's going to be live streamed as well as on Zoom.
Good.
So,
well, is there a place that people can go to watch it if they don't have a link, or where should they go for a link?
It's going to be on our Facebook page, the Party Alachua County Democrats.
Okay.
Our Facebook page is going to be live streamed there, so they don't have to sign up with Zoom.
Perfect.
They can just go to the sign in at 6 o'clock, tune in at 6,
Cool.
and catch the live stream. and hear all the pearls of wisdom from these wonderful candidates.
If we have pearls of wisdom, that's the question. Well, we will definitely be sharing it from obviously our campaign page to be able to, get that stream out there, as well as anything else that we can possibly do. I know that the video quality from this live stream has not been great, and so we are going to make sure that we get a version of it up on YouTube and shared as well that, actually looks decent. You can see our faces and it doesn't have pixelation and stuff. So we're going to try to get that fixed for sure.
All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you tomorrow evening. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And I'm looking forward to seeing you as well. So for everybody who tuned in, thank you so much. If you have any questions or anything and you want to put a comment below, that would be great. We can get back to you. And then obviously we will see you all tomorrow night for the forum. So really appreciate it. Have a good night, guys.
Okay.